You think you're cool with your cool saves and whatever, man. 0 out of 10. I put up the bat signal asking for your best football manager saves, and you all delivered. We have some crazy ones coming up, including one from somebody who's playing their first ever FM save, and one from my own editing team where they passed the save to a new editor every year. The good thing is that save only took a couple hundred years to get through the whole team. But first we have It's Stand Time, managing Melilla. And I recognize the name of that club instantly, because Melilla is the team in the Spanish leagues that's on the continent of Africa. Melilla, the best club in Europe based in Africa. A stadium with a capacity a third of the entire population of Melilla. A squad full of talented players and serial winners. Some of them at the club for 13 years, like Serovic or Zelkovic, and possibly the best player on planet Earth in Kufi. With some notable achievements, like Invincible in 34-35, 35-36, and 37-38. That's Invincible in 3 of 4 seasons. Chat, is that good? And 6 UCLs. One of the goals was getting talented local youth players, which finally happened with Calavera and Satoka, both being from Melilla. Also some obscure nations wonder kids like Al-Hamidi from the UAE, Einarsson from Iceland, and Petri, born in Australia. You're after my own heart with that section. I think I've achieved everything with 2 goals left. The sun in the game, or the stadium name. There's something crazy about this save that I've noticed almost right away. Despite the fact that they got promoted in their first 2 seasons, then things kind of stalled out. Once in the top league, our manager here finished 13th, 6th, 6th, 4th, 4th, until finally breaking through with a first place finish in 2031-2032. What I find doubly interesting is that those players that he mentioned had been on the team for a while, like vice captain Davor Zelkovic, they were on the team for a long time when they weren't winning the league. Like, this guy joined for 1.5 million from Vojvodina in 2026 and didn't win the league until there. He played a 5-season stretch without winning a league title, which is kind of insane when you look at how ridiculously good this guy is. Now, sure, he wasn't quite this good when he signed, but it took him 5 years to deliver that first league title. What a player, by the way. 1.5 million's got to be breaking some sort of international law. You can't get a player of this quality for 1.5 million. And he would have been signing him 2026, 2027. He would have been signing him at 18, maybe even 19 years. No, he signed him at 18. Usually by the time these sorts of players are 18, they're charging more than 1.5 million. That is juicy. Also, don't think I don't notice the 60 goals on a center back and 330 appearances. Somebody's using a juicy corner tactic. Could it be that one? Is it that one? Right there. It is, dude, it is. It's not exact. There's some differences in terms of where they're putting players outside the box, but it is draw the top 2 defenders that aren't draw the second and third defenders away to the other post, go one-on-one basically on the near post, deliver the ball to the near post, in swinger, bada bing, bada 60 goals and 330 appearances for the big Serbian. 3 tactics loaded in here. We've got a 4-2-3-1 and a 4-2-4 like any self-respecting football manager player, but the one that was selected when I came in is a back 5 tactic with a libero and wide center backs, which is just like that's just football manager heaven right there. But I don't know if it's their main one, because the primary train tactic is the 4-2-3-1 little bro cook. And it's this tactic, it's got me feeling some type of way, because unfortunately, chat, I'm not streaming. Unfortunately, YouTube, this is basically the exact tactic that I made a video about. And I made a video about it because the guy that won the Football Manager World Cup used this tactic down to the hold up ball inside forward on support sort of stuff. Now on both these DMs on support, it'll just be tackle harder. Actually doesn't have it on one of them. Don't know if he just forgot. You're going to have tackle harder on every other position. But I'm kind of happy. I've discovered this isn't exactly the same thing. He has marked specific player on his attacking midfielder and his striker as well. So I'm curious to see exactly how that would work. He's also put pass it shorter on his fullbacks, which is not something, like, obviously it's a very similar system, but there are differences. This was not just a plug and play situation. It was a plug tinker and play situation. But the differences are definitely minuscule, so not getting any points for tactical creativity here. But I'm not going to take all of them away either. The budget management is exceptional. We're looking at a balance of $500 million. That means this guy can almost afford to fund Chelsea's transfer budget for an entire season, which is a huge accomplishment. Transfer budget's at $420 million, which, dude, it's almost perfect. It's 420 million, 328,000. 96. Dang it! Oh, we almost interneted so hard there. Wage budget's pretty reasonable too. For a team that's won 6 Champions Leagues, this coming in like half of what Newcastle United's spending a decade into the game typically on FM24. So they've managed to keep wages depressed. Only 3 players making at least 10 million a year. And this is Jimmy Kofi, by the way, which the spelling, fantastic. Colombia never disappoints. 2 Ys. Yeah, he's probably the best player in the world right now. You're looking at somebody that is an unstoppably world-class athlete and dribbler who also has very good finishing and is a good enough passer to play a playmaker role in a world-class team. Those are the 3 phases of the offensive game that you freaking need. He's off the ball's 18, so if you want him to, run into space, he's got that too. The only thing he doesn't have going for him is the fact that he's 5'7" and he can't even jump for 5'7". But you know what? Messi can't really jump either. That doesn't seem to have hampered him too much. It does kind of suck that this guy can't play striker or anywhere else other than right wing because he totally has the skill set for it. But at this point in your career, you just build it around this guy. I would play him as a winger with cuts inside, but that's not how he's playing him. And that really makes me believe even more this tactic was downloaded and then minorly tinkered with because Jimmy Kofi is not somebody you want to make hold the ball up, right? He's somebody that you want to be the focal point, and the World Cup winning tactic, at least, does not make wingers the focal point. Makes fullbacks the focal point. So it almost makes more sense to train Jimmy Kofi to play wingback. Probably be better for this system. But there's no denying that juice right there. The African conquest of the Spanish leagues, Malia dominant run. And over the last 5 seasons, which are about halfway through this current season, 3 losses. Bravo. Now, I love this save, but I can't give any points for the tactical creativity of it. You've done everything else very well. Your player acquisition, your budget management, and you've been able to build a team that can sustain success, and you're able to rotate and stuff, but I gotta go with like 6 out of 10 here because I know where this tactic came from. Next, it's Aardvark managing Altrincham and Gateshead. I'm just going to get ahead of this. I'm sure there's somebody who just spit out their tea and crumpets and went, "It's Altrincham, this Yankee Doodle." To which my response would be, stop making up weird ways to say cities, all right? There's too many letters in it for it to be Worcester. Stop trying to convince me that it's Worcester, man. It's Worcester. Anyways, this league was a co-op save. Okay, that makes sense because there's 2 teams here. Where me and my friend, Zunk, shout out Zunk, went from Vanarama National. Wait. Hold that thought. Does Zunk know this has been submitted, or is Zunk getting the surprise of a lifetime right now? Who knows? Went from Vanarama National League to the Premier League and ended up becoming 2 of the dominant teams in Europe. We both found some mad wonder kids. My team, Altrincham the Fourth, especially found some of the best players I've ever seen in FM, specifically Gutierrez, Behrens, and Cottam. The editor was used to see players' ability once we'd sold them to see what we were missing out on. So I have a section that asks, did you use the editor? But what a torturous way to use the editor. That just fits the mental archetype of Football Manager players perfectly. Like, how can we use the editor in a way that will make the playing experience more painful? All right, we'll join the team of the guy that submitted, and he is the one that managed to win the league. He's actually managed to win the league each of the last 3 years, and I'm going to respect what the manager of Altrincham has done here, because he said that both teams have become 2 of the biggest clubs in Europe. He's just trying to gas his homeboy up a little bit. He's won the last 3 Premier Leagues, and it's not like the guy's doing poorly at Gateshead, right? He's in 6th. He's done very well. But our Altrincham manager has this in the bag with a match to go. He's in line for maybe 94 points in the season. He's won this very comfortably. Going Vanarama National League to a Premier League title in 10 years is pretty damn good. I love the audacity of this save. They're definitely getting bonus points for that, because to start a save in the Vanarama National League, the biggest concern is going to be, does somebody get left in the dust here? Who's going to get left behind so that they're not, like, they're playing in a completely different league? If somebody's in the championship and you're in the Prem, they have 8 more matches than you in the league. Things can get awkward really quickly. You're sitting there knitting, waiting for your friend to finish playing their match. They definitely were both gassing each other up like, well, we're going to try and go all the way to the Prem here. And they both did it. I give them a ton of credit. But we check out our boy, the Zunkster. He managed to pull off consecutive promotions all the way up to the championship, 2-year turn in the championship. The problem for the Zungster was he actually got relegated in the season of 2028-2029, which strangely enough was actually the year that Altrincham got promoted, so Gateshead got to the Premier League first by a year. Looks as though Altrincham lost the playoff in the Vanarama National League in their very first season, so they were literally just one league behind the entire time, which sucks, and then they caught up to it, and they've not finished below 11th. In fact, since the 2032 season, and we're now, of course, in 2037, they've been in Europe every single time. 5th, 2nd, and then 3 consecutive firsts, with a 4th on the way. Gateshead, after being re-promoted, finished in the top 9 every year, 9th, 6th, 5th, 3rd, and then a brutal 2nd last year. Granted, they did lose the league by 13 points, so it's not like it was that close of a title race, but they gotta feel like they're chasing ghosts at this point, because this Altrincham guy is just pulling away. But to get a table that looks like this 12 years into your save, with you and your homie are 1-2 in the Premier League, coming all the way from the 5th tier, very, very, very good. Dare I say, if Altrincham didn't exist, that Gateshead would have notched its first Premier League title in this season. But something that's standing out for me in each of the title-winning years for Altrincham, look at the goals for 116, 122, 110, and over 100 goals for, again, still one match left to play. So I gotta see this tactic. So they've gone with a very traditional triangular kind of anchored defense with an anchor man who's not moving. One wing back on support, one on defend, an attacking front four. This is a very classic Football Manager tactic. Maybe like 2-3 years ago, where you've got this kind of attacking quad with a Metsala coming out of the midfield on the same side as the inside forward. And I also love somebody that's not overdoing it with the instructions, right? They haven't spammed the instructions. These are thought out, not necessarily supreme genius going on here, but a distribute to playmaker, which I would imagine drags McNally back to help out our 4-man kind of press breaking setup. So if you're looking to get the ball to McNally, he's going to drop in here. Behrens moves over here. We've got a square, which is basically unpressable as long as you got one person on the outside on either side. And they do, because neither of the wing backs are on attack, so they're not going to disappear while you're trying to bring the ball out of the back. Let's look at some of these players, though. This guy is a center back playing midfield. He just isn't tall enough to play center back, which makes him the perfect anchor man. Excellent job creating a tactic that gets the best out of a player that's clearly world class as long as you put him in that position. Then there's the 22-year-old Englishman Cottam. This dude's got right-footed Arjen Robben type attributes here. Long shots are a little too low, but he is a striker that he's just playing on the wing, which means his team selection is really suited to this, which is a 4-3-3 narrow. Yeah, this dude's juiced. This dude is so juiced. There's a point you hit in a save where you're just looking at your team and you're like, oh yeah. What was the third name? Gutierrez. Oh, it's the goalkeeper. 20 in one-on-ones or reflexes is just going to create a goalkeeper that actually robs goals. I mean, it is impossible to be better in one-on-one situations as a goalkeeper than Bruno Gutierrez is, which means, honestly, I'd be chucking my line so far up the field, which he's not doing. He's resisted that urge. None of his tactics have a much higher back line where you're just inviting 1v1 a match against Gutierrez, who's got like a 50% chance to save it because the dude's a mind reader. I love the tactics. I love the Wonder Kids. I love the save. The accomplishment's impressive, and it's multiplied because both of you did it. 9 out of 10. 6 save. Next, we have Boost. Singolo 27. Doesn't really roll off the tongue the same way. Managing Dukla Prague. An undefeated, invincible season in 27-28. First time I've ever done that in 5 years of playing FM. Made it all the way to the Europa League final in 30, losing to Spurs after extra time. Just completed the season in 31, where we only lost 1 league game all season. I've done multiple cup and league doubles. I've used the editor to update stadium names. It is amazing the different things that drive Football Manager players crazy to the point that they need to use the editor to fix stadium names. All right, we're in. My concern on this is the Champions League. And it says, again, he's been knocked out in the league phase. I think this save is clearly failing. You've managed to build your team up to be in an absolute hog molly in the league. I didn't know you could be that good in the Czech League and still be getting grouped in the Champions League league stage. But there's a way for us to check this. We're going to go to Club Info, History, and Competitions. I just want to check where you finished to the Champions League last 3 times. So you made the round of 16, lost to Barcelona in your first Champions League proper, And then you kind of gone backwards. Lost to Panathinaikos in the Path playoff. You didn't even make it to the league stage. And then lost, got knocked out in the league stage. Of course, you don't drop down to the Europa League anymore. But the real travesty of this save was after you lost to Panathinaikos in that playoff round in the Champions League, this run all the way to the Europa League final, lost in extra time to Tottenham, which is a brutal draw to have to play them in the Europa League. But very respectable knockout performance. Beat Lazio, beat Fiorentina, beat Wolfsburg by 3 goals in the semifinal. I just don't know why your success hasn't translated to Europe. But you make up for that a little bit with the fact that you've signed Pau Kubarsi. I don't know how you managed to swing that. He hasn't developed as much as he can in Football Manager, and you've just swooped in and picked up a guy with a Barcelona birth certificate. That's pretty sweet. There's something about the fact that you're not overwhelmingly better than this league, even though you are winning it comfortably, that makes this unbeaten season in 2028 even more special. You hadn't even played a Champions League stage match at this point, and you managed to win the league by 16 points. This was your first league title. Dude, your first league title being an unbeaten season is such a statement, such a cool Football Manager experience, such a cool thing to do that I've got to give it marks. Now, compared to the great saves people can have on Football Manager, this one obviously has a ways to go, but with this cool story in there, I'm still going to go like a 6 out of 10. Winning your first league title when you're trying to climb up a league with an unbeaten season and pushing it all the way to a Europa League final soon. I mean, that's great. But dude, why do you suck in the Champions League now? Gotta diagnose that one. This isn't save your saves, I'm rating saves here, but still. You need to scout wonder kids. You probably need loans. Next. Everybody. It's Hadauzert, managing Dinamo Zagreb and Paraguay. Love the adventurousness. This is my first ever Football Manager save. And they started with the one team I always recommend starting with. A good team in a bad league that gives you a chance to make some mistakes while still being good. And I guess it's gone very well. Despite managing Dinamo Zagreb, one of the easier starter teams, I've gone from losing the league in the first season, trying to figure things out, to winning 4 in a row, the last 3 in emphatic fashion. This year is the first year that I've splashed the cash a little, all while taking my club to unimaginable financial riches relative to the start, which I'd particularly highlight. This is also the first year we've gotten past the league phase of the Champions League, where we've beaten Arsenal and Chelsea and are now in the semi-final. You need to teach our last guy how to do that, and he would have gotten a better grade. Despite the main tactic being 4-2-3-1, I've been shifting over this year to a 4-2-4 with very good results. Also managing Paraguay, and things look positive in our goal to qualify for the 2030 World Cup. All right, Cook. All right, I smell something in the kitchen. I smell it. A smelly smell. So we're talking dominant. You said dominant. How dominant are we getting? So first year, you lose the league, the Hajduk split. Ooh, was that last match of the season? Yes! Oh, and it was against Hajduk Split. Oh, baby. Oh. So it was like that. Dude, I don't care what happens in the rest of the save. If this happens to you on your first ever Football Manager save, and you put on the big boy pants and you strap on your work boots with the Velcro over the top, you put your hard hat on and you go back to work at Bob the Builder's factory to build a winning team, you get a 10 out of 10 from me. This is guts. This is heart. This is grit right here. You lose on the final day of the season to lose the league by a point with the easy team, and you're able to put yourself back together and get to the Champions League semifinal 4 years later. That is a 10 out of 10. Wow. I've been there, but to get hit with that in your first ever season, I can't even imagine. I like to think I would be made of stern enough stuff to continue. I don't know if I would be, but a 14-point win in the league, then a 33-point win in the league. Yeah, it's been pretty dominant. It's clinched with 6 matches to go here, and they probably clinched it with a lot more to go. First 1-loss season looks like it's cooking. Lost at home to Slaven Belupo. You probably want that game back. The real magic sauce here is coming from this run, because Arsenal getting 2 English teams in the Champions League knockouts is a nightmare. They snowball so hard in Football Manager, as they seem to be doing in real life as well. And having to go Arsenal and then jumping in and penalties against Chelsea. Come on, man. You are living the dream. What a penalty shootout. Hey, Chelsea signed Ousmane Diomande. I signed him for Chelsea in my rebuild. Nice. It's literally all English teams. You're probably going to have to go Liverpool, Man City if you wanted to win the entire thing. And You couldn't come up with a much harder run all the way to the final unless you sprinkled in a Bayern Munich, Real Madrid, or Barcelona at some point in this process. Like a sneaky round of 16 PSG or something. First time getting out of the league phase. You must have been losing your mind. Consecutive 28th place finishes in the Champions League phase. The finances are good. I mean, over $100 million and you're in 2028. That is good. And it's because you've been selling. Abs, baby. Always be selling. All right, you spent more money that year, but the last 3 years you've made like $185 million worth of sales, which is freaking healthy for Dinamo Zagreb. But what's the tactic? You said you were running the 4-2-4 now? Yeah, I mean, 4-2-4 and 4-2-3-1 have been people's favorites. It's because the ability to press aggressively when you've got 4 guys up in this kind of offensive area, it's just so troubling for the other team. And if you can get the double pivot to put pressure on that next level, it's just very hard for them to break you down. And you're not able to consistently win off long balls enough to kind of make teams pay for that. So that's where this sort of stuff finds success. This is a very open tactic, by the way. Not a lot of anchoring defensively, a lot of support roles, right? A sweeper keeper on attack. We're looking at just 2 defensive mentalities. I mean, all in all, fairly standard, but showing a good grasp, especially if, this is like made entirely by them, showing a good grasp of, it looks like it was, by the way, a good grasp of how to build tactics and an understanding of, where their bread is buttered. All right, we're going to try and get the ball out to the wings. We're going to look for the overlaps. Right? This is not dissimilar to how my instructions look in my save in Brazil that I'm playing on stream right now. I actually might be playing it on stream right now. You'll never know if you don't click the Twitch link in the description. Could just be more forehead, but you could save that for the end of this video. That's what I would do. Not really managed to turn the success into a burgeoning pile of wonder kids. You do have your 1 or 2 guys that you've kind of gone and signed. That's not a surprise though. Playing Football Manager, that's basically the last thing you're gonna earn. But I mean this honestly. The fact that you've managed to manage this team to the Champions League semifinal is amazing. Your team's playing with outrageous confidence and cohesion, and they understand everything that's going on. Vibes being immaculate can carry you a long way. It's a hell of a run. But I already gave you a 10 out of 10, so 10 out of 10 again. Next, we have peed in my pants. Managing Roma. I set out to build AS Roma, chosen because of their badge. Did it have pee on it? Nah, just kidding. It has pants on it. I somehow accomplished my mission in just 3 seasons while being financially responsible. It's actually the first time I have ever won a Champions League in a save, so I am super proud of it. Champions League in 3 seasons from Roma while not abusing installments is definitely crazy impressive. Let's take a look at how they did it. So the first thing I'm going to check is transfers in and transfers out. So first season, 146 in, that they spent, and 113 that they received. Then they spent $100 million more than they received the following season, and $100 million more than they received the following season after that. So even though their margins were negative, Roma was just making a ton of money anyways. But I will say, some of these payments are deferred. There's still an $8.5 million payment left for Tammy Abraham. There's $10 million left on Luca Limpani's deal. There's $5 million left on Jalrego's deal. And there's a rather massive amount still left due to Barcelona for Vitor Roque. This is the hidden beauty right here. And Zabarnyi. Oh, financially responsible. Yeah, you're financially responsible. That's true. They did not lie. But they also definitely used a ton of installments, which is the way to play this, by the way, because if you can use those installments and then have great success, which this person did, you're not going to end up being in financial danger. But what made the save potentially more impressive was them not doing this, which is why I'm looking into it. Because that's $34 million due for Zabarnyi right there. That's just like $37 million right here. And then that's 36, which means we're looking at nearly $100 million in installments, more than $100 million in installments for Zabarnyi and Vitor Roque by themselves. You add in the other thing, you're looking at $130, $140 million that is still due on transfers out of their $180 million overall balance. But that being said, winning the Champions League with a budget of just $173 million per year, which translates, by the way, you move the decimal over 2 and then multiply by 2. So you're looking at like maybe $3 million a week. Not a monster transfer budget for a Champions League winning team. And what could turn this up to 11, all you did, you won the league all 3 seasons, including a 110 goal opening season performance, which is nuts. You caught an instant flow state here. Actually didn't match that goal scoring number in either of your next championship seasons. But instantly winning Roma's first league title in over 20 years in your first season, that is like a crowning memory. I still remember, I think it was in Hungary. I took over a team that hadn't won the top league in 25 years. And in the first season, I managed to win the league. And I, for a long time, credited that as my best football manager accomplishment. How are your other Champions League runs? Lost to Tottenham in the quarterfinals on aggregate and then won this one on penalties. Newcastle in the semis, Milan in the quarters, and a blowout 8-2 Bayern Munich domination in the round of 16. Hello. Now the tactic looks like a basic 4-2-3-1, but its name is Romulus and Remus, the two brothers from the legend of how Rome was founded. And so you get huge bonus points for the historical reference in your tactic name. Then we have the wolf attack and then a 5-1-3-1. How is this? Oh, 5-1-3. Yeah, I guess that is a 5-1-3-1. I don't know if I've ever heard that before. But the main one's the Romulus and Remus 4-2-3-1. That's looking like a pretty standard operating 4-2-3-1. Definitely high line, high pressure 4-2-3-1, but not with step up. This isn't only press dependent. But base on attacking, definitely very aggressive. And with all that money that went flying out the door, there is serious star power on this team. Benjamin Šeško, Antonio Silva, the Portuguese international, checking in at center back. You've done a very good job of building this team with known wonder kids, real dudes. Pau Kubarsi popping up again, developed a little bit more. But look, at the end of the day, this is a hard video. It is. And just being in it means you've accomplished a lot. I'm gonna give you a 7 out of 10, mainly for that absolutely unbelievable first season performance. And congratulations on your first Champions League. Next, we have Standard Rossoneri managing Sunderland. Instant promotion from the championship. 7th place with a relegation quality team. Next year, win the Prem and Conference League. Won every Prem since. Multiple Champions Leagues. Last year went invincible and Centurion at the same time. Iksan got nothing on me. Iksan, of course, being the reigning Football Manager World Champion. And it's funny you mentioned that, because based off of this speed of trajectory, this feels like the sort of thing the competitors in the Football Manager World Cup would do. Getting these it's consistent great results that set those guys apart. So how many Premier Leagues is that? First Premier League title with Sunderland in 2026. Third season to go with Sunderland to winning the Premier League is pretty crazy. Now, are you using Iksan's tactic? In shape, but not in instruction. There are a lot of specific instructions that Iksan used to win the Football Manager World Cup. This is a very similar shape, but it does not use a lot of the similar instructions that really change the way that the team plays almost entirely in some areas, like with the wingers. So this is a team that if you are watching them play, they will look and play differently than what Iksan was doing. And we're talking about a team that's getting these types of results with an advanced playmaker on the wing. But the tactic they're training has a Raumdeuter on the wing. I haven't used Raumdeuters in years. Shorter passing, low crosses. Seeing this ultra high tempo with shorter passing in a couple of these tactics might be a window into something. I've typically stuck around that, only going up to the higher tempo when I feel like we need to chase the game or when we're not moving the ball fast enough. But the most fascinating thing about the tactic that's being trained for me is that there's a significant gap between the defense and this everybody else group. We've got a high line of press, but the defense is hanging a little further back. That is something that normally makes me particularly queasy, and that's got a lot of trust in Pizarro to be able to get back and cover that spot. Kind of crazy, though, because I feel like this guy's doing this without a lot of talent. The only star player on the team is Hassan Ouedraogo, who is a very, very, very good player. Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. I was just looking at the wrong guy. The first guy I looked at was just the wrong guy. I mean, obviously you've got Scalvini, and not only just any Scalvini, a Scalvini that has developed unbelievably well. This is a champagne center back, if there ever was a champagne. What did you get him for? 112 million. Respect. Respect. Absolutely psychotic spending here to build this team. Mad respect. 139 million spent, 59 in. 175 million spent, 63 in. 611 million spent, including 144 million on Tommaso Baldanzi, who's not even on your team anymore. You sold him for 130. Way to cancel that out, honestly. Unbelievable Chelsea-sized window in 2027. Overspent your means, and then you've started to sell players in order to balance the books. You made 250 million on transfers in 2029, which is a lot of money to still be in debt that much. But hey, as long as that financial status is okay and not insecure, you're doing fine. And you weren't in here, you weren't in here bragging about an incredibly safe financial situation. You were bragging about results. And those results are here. That's a Champions League for Sunderland in 2028. 5 seasons. Pretty freaking insane. It really does look and feel like it looks and feels like a save that you'd see in the FM World Cup. I'm gonna give this one a 9 out of 10. Totally arbitrary. Would have loved to have seen something that wasn't a 4-2-3-1. But love the Raumdeuter or the advanced playmaker. Either one. But now to maybe the weirdest save I've ever been sent for this series. From my own editing team. First submitted by Just Flannel, who's somebody that works on a long-form project that we've been working on for a while. They started it with Exeter City and said, this is no typical English pyramid save, because this is what we've dubbed a pass and play save between 5 players. After struggling with a consistent network game this year, I suggested doing 1 season each and trying to take Exeter City to winning the Premier League. Let's see if we managed it. If you submitted it, surely. You guys edit every single one of my tutorial videos. Some of that must have soaked in somewhere. The general idea was to work with your budget within your season, so no minimal installment-based signings, and we tried to build on each other's teams to build a team capable of winning the Prem. Some of the participants are members of the Zealand editing team, so feel free to judge how they play FM. I will judge. So it's 2028, and Exeter did win the Prem. Exeter did win the Prem in 5 seasons, which is pretty freaking good. They start in League One, and the first season was played out by Just Flannel. In that season, Just Flannel managed a 93-point second place finish behind Oxford United to get the team up to the championship with a hefty $0 spent, which is awesome. But a healthy dose of loans, including Ben Doak. Hell yeah. And I didn't even say loans! Dang it. The following season, $9 million was spent. But which editor spent it? It was Tom, an editor for the main channel and animator. Also a creator of our emotes on Twitch. Tom managed in the championship and pulled off the miraculous 1-season wonder in the championship by 4 points. Missed out on the title by a point, but dropped 91 points and got Exeter City into the Prem. Let's go, editors! Yes, editing team, let's go! They're performing, but it was the next manager that pulled off the absolutely, utterly unthinkable. They won the Prem first season. I don't think I could do this. Legitimately. I would have to use every mechanic I could possibly get my hands on in the game, but a double promotion from League One to the Prem, and then Gadget, who is the head of the Zealand Live channel and the editor for Zealandism, delivered a 1-season championship in the Premier League. 94 points in the first season. Crystal Palace went into administration and still managed to not get relegated. Just side drama. How was that done? Over $200 million in transfers for Lorenzo Luca, Giovanni Lo Celso, and $75 million for Abakar Sila to get the size and the speed and the strength on the back line. And not only did he win the league, he won the League Cup as well. 2-1 over Manchester United. Oh, and the FA Cup. Won the FA Cup final against Chelsea. Now, the crazy thing about this save is I actually don't know what tactic they used because it's changed basically every year. The only way we can change it is you can go into the view here and add formation, but it doesn't look like it works for a season that was, like a couple seasons ago. The formation is not listed anymore. But straight up, a team that just got double promoted, you could slap the Ixon tactic on that and you're not going to be winning the league the majority of the time. This was magic dust. So how do you follow that up? Well, season 4, the head of the Zealand channel and the head of editing at Zealand Incorporated, Reece, took over the save file and finished 6th. Come on, man. You've been here the longest, Reece. What are you doing? Freaking 6th, 70 points. Although, amazingly, those 70 points were only 7 off the actual top of the league. It was maybe the closest league title race you could possibly have. Wasn't for lack of trying. Bot Harvey Elliott, Benjamin Sheshko, and Thomas Suchek added to a league-winning team. But the magic just wasn't quite there. And at that point, the save was passed out of the hands of the editing team, which 10 out of 10 pre-Reece.
I'm like, what do you say me for?
Although that's a tough act to follow. If they don't leave the tactical setup and the player substitution and rotation strategy, and you're just coming into the save file cold, very tough act to follow there. But going League One straight to a Premier League title, in a save where you're passing it off every season, that is a 10 out of 10 every day of the week. Shout out to the editing team. Be sure to send them your thanks in the comments for all the great work they do across all of our channels. And if you want to watch me rate more saves, they're right up there. You guys do some absolutely wild different types of saves like that last one, and they're always incredibly fun to look at. I'll see you guys on stream.